an oil change on the car, is a crush washer really that necessary? There's a reason why they call it a crush washer. So in the olden days, it was literally just using, not even a crush washer, it was basically using the flange of the bolt up against the surface to create a seal. Then some vehicle manufacturers went over to O-rings. Some had integrated seals that were embedded actually on the actual drain bolt itself. But is it really necessary to use a crush washer nowadays when doing an oil change? Point blank, yes. For the amount of money that it costs for a crush washer, just replace it, and I'll show you why. Alright, so right here, I've got my digital caliper. We'll zero it out so you can see we're at set at 0. Now, this is the old crush washer, and you can usually tell because it just seems to have a different sheen to the actual washer itself. See how it has more of a, I guess want to say, almost looks like a machined surface as opposed to this one right here, which is still kind of semi-soft. Now these are aluminum washers. We'll flip it over to the back side. Now the way I do it is, and this is just preference, for some reason I always put what I call the flat side or the non-stamped side, where the die actually comes down and cuts on this side right here and stamps these out. I usually put that surface, that back side, I usually put that up against the oil pan. But here's a brand new one. Here's the old one that I took off. We'll show you the numbers of the old one, which we'll clear this out on 0. Gauge it up, put it right on the edge there, and we're at 1.87, 1.8788, 1.88, 1.89, 1.88, 1.88, 1.87. So you can tell that this crush washer right here has actually, well, crushed. At least that's the intent. Okay, this is the old one. So now what I'll do is I'll grab the brand new one and show you the difference. Make sure it was zeroed out. .91, 1.92, 1.9291, 1.92, 1.92, 1.91, 1.91, 1.91, 1.91. Should get 1.92 now. Okay, so that kind of shows you right there that the original washers, which these are all the same. This is I usually buy them in bulk because I do that many oil changes on vehicles. Now you can tell that there was a very, very minor discrepancy between 1.92 and 1.91 as opposed to 1.8, forget what it was. I don't even remember what it was, but it's showing you that as it crushes it up against the surface, it creates a much tighter, happier seal. Now, if I was to reuse this, what I would be in fear of is needing to apply an extra amount of torque, which is then going to apply extra torque on the threads, which the threads on the receiving end, which is the oil pan, are obviously cut aluminum. So I'm installing a steel drain bolt into aluminum that at some point, without this crush washer crushing, like what this brand new one's going to do, this one's already compacted. So that means I would have to apply a much greater force on this original crush washer or old crush washer in order to get a good seal like I would with a brand new one. So for the amount of money that they are, and if you get sometimes what's called a genuine oil filter, if you get a genuine oil filter, a lot of times it actually comes with its own crush washer. I use K&N, so that's just by choice. I use K&N Performance Series, and for a 2017 Honda CR-V with the Earth Dreams, whatever, the turbo engine, It's on that Honda 4-cylinder. I use the Performance Series K&N oil filter with also a K&N reusable air filter. It's just what I've chosen to do. It doesn't really give any more performance. It's more peace of mind. So, to be honest with you, yes. When you're doing an oil change, replace the crush washer. Just don't cheap out. I mean, God, just don't. Don't get your stuff at Walmart either. So we've been through this many times. This is a 2017 Honda CR-V. Here's a side shot right there. Use a good style jack to jack it up. If you don't have a jack that has locking detents, make sure you use jack stands. I have jack stands, and this is just a habit that I do. I put a material like a cardboard or something that's in between the actual jack stand and the actual body of the car. And that way there's less damage, especially when we're in Salt Nation here. Just kind of preventative, and if I did scratch the surface, I would actually take a little bit of undercoat and I would spray some undercoat on there just to prevent, you know, rust, corrosion, all that stuff. While you're under there, also give it a good once over. Up top here, obviously we can see brake fluid level is looking fine. You should normally never have to top off your brake fluid level. And if you do, that means that you've got an issue with your brakes. So that's kind of like an indicator sometimes to tell you how your brakes are looking. The next thing to do, obviously, would be to check the pad condition of this vehicle, which I already know that the pads are fine on this vehicle, as we had already done some previous checks on it. But if you get the camera in there, I think you can see, put the flash on. So now when you look in there, you can see that there's plenty of pad life left. I can actually still see the taper on the pads right there, which is just a good indicator that these brake pads are still in great shape. And we'll also come over to the driver's side. We'll give it a quick little check, which if you look right in there, you can still see the taper on the pad right in the middle right there. Just giving an indication that the brakes are in great shape. Even when spinning the wheel, keeping your hand kind of on the wheel, feeling for any issue. We'll put the camera down here. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to check, basically just check the tie rod ends, which, of course, everything on this car is tight. Yeah, I mean, this car only has like 36,000 miles on it anyway, but these are just some of the things that you should do. Check this one too. Nothing. Everything is so tight on this car. I didn't expect there to be any issue. Next thing obviously would be to check the belt condition. The other thing that I was going to do is I've got some brake clean, just a cheap brake clean. You don't need anything expensive. I usually do use CRC, but there's no need to use CRC when doing stuff like this. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean that area right there, which is where the oil filter connects onto. So we're going to give it a little douse. Just like that. And then I'll take a paper towel and I'll give it a wipe down with a paper towel. Get in there. Clean that surface. Make sure that surface is nice. Just like that. See, the brake clean gets rid of all the junk that was there. Just make sure that when you go in and you retouch that filter area, that you're not getting any junk in there. So that's looking nice and clean. Now is also an opportune time to go ahead and check your belt condition. So there's our belt right there. You'd be able to check, probably check it through the wheel well would be actually better, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the zoom feature to check the condition of the back side. And again, 36,000 miles, that's nothing for that belt. And I'm pretty confident that this belt is in good shape all the way around. Belt tension isn't really going to matter. Just feeling for the belt condition itself, it actually feels mint. So nothing to really worry about. Yeah, that's about it. So now, that's already been cranked down just by hand. You don't have to put any, 500 foot-pounds on there. That's the oil pan drain bolt. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the filter and show you how to prep the filter. So if you're not sure which engine you have, basically you just look at your tag right there. You can see this one right here is the 1.5 liter engine, which is listed right there, and that's what this Earth Dreams Technology Turbo engine is. The other one I think is like a 2.4, I think. So inside, usually, if you're confused, I know this car takes 3.5 liters or like 3.6 or 7 quarts, I think, somewhere around there. I think it's like 0.7. It's the part that I hate. So I'm just going to set this up. I'm going to look at this manual real quick. Normally it would be listed under like, in the old days it used to be called capacities in the back here. But this one is listed as, so you can see we've got maintenance, right? So maintenance, which is 142, but then you go down, you got battery, brake, engine oil. So you got engine coolant, engine oil, and that's number 148. So go to page 148. And then talks about all that junk using a 0W20 and setting the engine minder or maintenance minder. So you want to obviously reset the minder on the vehicle. We'll go through those steps as well. Where is capacities? There's usually like a capacities thing here somewhere. There we go. Specifications. So you got fluids right there. And you scroll down.
Yes, I am 100% aware that I said scroll down.
We want 1.5 liter turbo engine, which is right there. And you can see what it says, an oil change including filter. And we are at 3.7 US quarts, and that is for the number 2, which is the 1.5 or 3.5 liters. So I just wish they would do 4 just to make it easier. But that's not how they do things. And make sure you go ahead and put your manuals back where they go, just in case. Rear brakes on this car are actually fine too. Belt's fine. Obviously the brake fluid's fine. Power steering fluid is fine. Next thing probably would be is to top off your windshield washer fluid. The actual air filter itself is not something I got to worry about, because you can see I've actually put in a Canon air filter, which I put that sticker there just to put it there. It's not like there's going to ever be anybody else that ever does this other than maybe my wife, my son, and my daughter. So, yeah, All right, so just set you down here on the Jaguar parts bench here. We've got our mobile oil, which is right there, which is a advanced fuel economy. You can see it's 0W30 is what I picked. Got an oil filter, which is this one right here, which I do use, the HP series, which is just high performance, and it's a 1010 filter. Normally what you do is you'd also take your oil filter and match it up to your old one, which I'll go and grab that right now. So here's the old oil filter. You can see the number right there, HP 1010. This is the old one. Just make sure that all your oil is out of it before you dispose of it or recycle it. Now obviously on the side of the bottle you can see that there's an indicator. You've got liters on the left side, quarts on the right, and it has indicator lines to tell you where you are as far as, you know, how much oil you have. So what I usually like to do is, obviously we know that the new oil change is going to require 3.5 liters. So which is nice, obviously has the liter. So that would be 1, 2, 3, and then literally half. So what I want to do is I actually want to go ahead and put some oil in my filter so I don't have a dry start. And this is just by preference. This is what I do. You don't have to do it. This is just what I do. K&N also gives you a nice little sticker that you can apply inside your car, but we're not going to worry about that. So I'm going to go ahead, put the filter right there, open up our oil. Make sure you always wear gloves and eye protection whenever you're doing any kind of junk like this. So I'm going to go ahead and pour a little bit of oil right inside the hole. Just like that. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pre-lube the actual gasket with oil. Make sure you wear gloves. It's always a good idea to keep yourself protected. And we'll bring this over there just like that. You can see the oil actually inside the filter right now. Well, I don't know if you can. How about if I put a flash on? There you go. So you can actually see the oil now inside of the filter. So it's just a habit. It's just something that I've always done. Some vehicles don't really allow it, but I still always try to do it the best I can. So that's just how I like to do it. So now we'll put you in here. See, everything looks nice and clean up there. Alright. Just gonna basically install the oil filter. Now the reason why you put oil on the seal is to lubricate the seal. You don't want to have a dry seal going up against that surface of the metal. And we'll give it a spin on. And the way I've always done it, okay, now again, this is personal preference. The way I've always done it is as soon as the seal contacts, which is right there, I will give it a 1/2 to a 3/4 turn. So we can see we've got that mark right there. We got actually basically a bolt mark right here and all this like orange stuff. So I don't know what that is. And I'm basically just going to give it a 1/2 turn. Okay? That's the way I do it. Now that, or 3/4. How about if we go 3/4 of a turn? That's the way I end up doing it. Now we can actually see we're right there. This is where our first indicator was. So you can see we basically went 1/2 to a little bit, maybe past 3/4 of a turn. And I feel more secure doing my filter that way. You can see obviously our drain bolt has the new crush washer on there. It is already torqued down. Everything's good to go. Now what I'll do is we can come topside. And on this car, right here is where the oil fill is. And you can see it says 0W20. Look at 0W30. Really isn't going to make that big of a difference. I'm going to use a filter. Not a filter. I'm going to use a funnel just to make my life a little bit easier. And when we pour the oil in, I'll be periodically checking the level. And I kind of actually showed you backwards. It's not funny, I didn't even think of that. I showed you backwards the oil level. So what I should do is I should show you the correct way. So when I had initially showed you, I wasn't thinking. So I started from here, I went 1, 2, 3.5. But in reality, it's 1, 2, 3.5 is where our oil level is going to be. Boy, stuff is like water. And we're almost there. You can see we're almost there. Another half. We'll be good. And I'm going to double check that. It looks like when I hold it level, so when I hold this level, that right there is level. We are at 3.5. Always cap off your oil. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to check the dipstick, which the dipstick is that orange thing that is right there. Right here. That's the dipstick. Checks your oil level. So I'm going to clean it off. Carefully insert it all the way down. We'll get a look at the oil level. And the oil level, there's really no indicator. It's basically, I think, as long as it's shiny on there, you're good to go. So we'll put that back in. And that's it. So now what we'll do is we'll get in the car and we'll start the car up and redo that minder, the oil maintenance minder. All right. All right, so this is obviously where the oil maintenance minder thing is going to come up on the screen, and I'll show you how to go ahead and reset that. So basically all I want to do is I want to put the car to on. I'm going to shut the door, open the windows because I'm dying. Now you can see on screen says maintenance due. Well, it did say maintenance due now. If I go to right there, so maintenance due now. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the screen here, show you how to reset the actual the oil minder. So we'll go to home. We'll go to settings. We'll go to vehicle. We will then go to maintenance info, which is the one all the way down the bottom. Click maintenance info. Now, on this vehicle, it says engine oil and tire rotation. I actually don't need to do a tire rotation because this car just got brand new tires like maybe 500 miles ago, and I'm not going to do a rotation on that. By the time I would really need to do any kind of like tire rotation anyway, I would point blank just buy new tires. So I'm not concerned with saving the extra like 1,000 miles that you would potentially save by rotating tires. It's really not necessary. Unless it comes to Big Black. Big Black is a different story because, yeah, Big Black does burnouts. So rotating the tires on Big Black is actually a smart idea. But on this thing, all-wheel drive, 2017 Honda CR-V, don't even waste your time. My opinion. So we'll get back into there so you can see right there. And then what it says is select items or select reset items. So right now what it's saying is that oil life is at 5%, which is called A1, which all it is just engine oil and tire rotation. And we'll reset the items. Now, we already checked all of this. Air filter's fine. Transmission oil, I'm not going to worry about. They're talking about spark plugs. No big deal. Engine coolant, that's something I'm going to address before the wintertime. All-wheel drive oil, that's actually been already done. And brake fluid, that's not anything that we need to check or change out or anything like that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select engine oil. And then do I want to reset that? Yes. That's resetting. Now see how that's been reset. So now I'm going to do is go back into maintenance info. Select items. Tire rotation, air filters, we'll reset that. That's going to be fine. Done. So that's it. So now what I'm going to do, click OK, jump out of there, go to home. Now we'll start the vehicle by pressing on the brake and pressing that start button. So obviously now nothing's going to show up on the dash. But the reason why we started the car was because I want to go outside and make sure that there are no leaks. So I've literally never had a leak, but it's always good to check. Could be oil spraying all over the place. Who knows? All right. Normally you'd let it get up to operating temperature, but I'm confident enough in my abilities of doing something simple as this, an oil change, to not warrant really worrying about it. But this is just a step that I always go through. And now what I'll do is I'll take all those items from out of there and we'll put the skid plate back on, or that's not really a skid plate. I call it a skid plate, but it's like a shield, engine bay shield. And then it obviously has a various amount of different fasteners. We have 2 different style fasteners, and we'll just get that buttoned up and set the car down, and literally we'll be done. Now, some people may wonder why I've got this stuff out. I have this out for one particular bolt. So one particular bolt, which is this one right here. There's actually 3 of these. 2 in the front and 1 in the back. The one that's in the back, which is located right here. That one's always a bear. A lot of times that one, you'll come across cars where this one is actually seized. And what I will do is I'll put anti-seize on it. Now, don't get the stuff like on your fingers, because it just like goes on forever. And you only need just a little bit. So I'm just going to put a dab, just like that, okay? It's literally all you need. Cap that bad boy back off. And I'm going to thread it in first. Just to get the threads like coated and look good. So now I don't have to worry about that particular one. My head was probably right in the way. So I'll back this out here. Show you putting in this little skid plate, whatever the heck you want to call it. Call it a skid plate, even though that's not what it's called. Looks like a skid plate. So the skid plate, it actually has a hook right there. I don't even know if this is in frame, but it basically just aids in putting this back in. It basically just kind of holds it in place, so you don't have to worry about, like, you know, actually holding it in place. And I'm going to start off with that center one in the back, which I told you not to get your fingers on it, and I just did. So basically just hold that up, go to its hole, and I start with this one just because this is a centerized one, and that is threading in there nice now. Alternately, what you could do is you could just switch them to another one, but I'm just keeping that same one just like that and give it a crank. Next, I'm going to go for my other 2 threaded ones, which the other 2 threaded ones are right there and there. And yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know if this is like faced how it should. Make sure you wear safety glasses. I think that's good. I can't even tell if the camera's facing. Take my hat off. I do the threaded ones first because these ones are more like located ones. So once these ones are in, the other ones are nice and easy. So next, I grab these little funky ones right here. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those. One right here. And these are flathead, like, what are these, like quarter turns or something like that? They're like quarter turns. Another one over here. Quarter turn. Quarter turn. And looks like I'm missing one. Quarter turn. Quarter turn. And there's one more right here, which is above the camera. You can't see, but the camera's actually in the way. Quarter turn. See? I don't even know if this is working. I don't know if anything's in shot. It's like just a quarter turn. Alright, there we go. Alright. Put my hat back on so you don't have to see my Fabio. So, basically that's it. So now we're just going to let the car down and tell my wife that the oil is changed and basically gave it its 36,000 mile kind of like check over service. So now I know that this car is absolutely fine. Rear brakes are fine as well. It's just, sometimes it's more than just an oil change, and keep that in mind. So anyways, if you like episodes like this from What's Up Guy Garage, you know, RC Guy Garage, we're two in the same person. You know what to do. Thumbs up the video, share it, throw me a like, whatever. Like, share, subscribe, whatever you want to do. But point blank, don't be afraid to do your own oil. Don't be afraid to do your own oil change. Sneeze.
Coronavirus.
Don't be afraid to do your own oil change. It's really not that hard. Yeah, that's it. Just get out there and rip it. Oh yeah, in case I forgot to mention, the oil drain bolt is a 17 millimeter. Wow, I literally need all the brake. Oh my God.